You know, sometimes there's that expression, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And sometimes things that do change will eventually go back to the way things were. Like Detroit not going to the playoffs. Detroit disappointing their fans. Detroit. Detroit. And it's funny that I'm saying this knowing that at the time of this recording, the Detroit Pistons are the number one seed in the NBA. So maybe not all of Detroit is the same. But for this channel, when it comes to the NFL and football in general, Detroit is once again back at the bottom of the NFC North. Yeah, Detroit was fourth place with a winning record. Let that sink in a little bit. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. We're continuing our NFL 2025 recap, and we're going to Detroit. Yeah. Let's talk about the worst team in the NFC North. I know, it's still hard to believe that a team that went 9-8 is also the worst team in their division. It's a funny thing, that is. Now, what's really funny, that I'm kind of laughing in a giggling sort of manner, is that I was still riding high on Detroit, so I had them a 13-4 record, and at worst case a 10-7. So clearly I was saying a double-digit season, no doubt about it. And I guess I didn't really pay attention too much to the Lions defense. I just look at Aiden Hutchinson and I was like, well, the defense is fine. Now, what's funny, as a Buccaneer fan, we have taken two of Detroit's, I'm not going to say star player, but one was a captain in Alex, and the other one, Muhammad, was a 12-sack contributor. But then again, I have Aiden Hutchinson on the side there. So, as Tampa, we thank Detroit for your donations. Or not signing back your gifts. But it just really felt that it was the big argument of everybody, was the case of Glenn's gone for the defense and Benny Johnson is gone for the offense. What will Detroit do? And honestly, it didn't really feel like much really changed. I mean, I understand coaching does matter, but I feel like if you're talented and you're professional, even if you get a new coordinator, this is coming from a fan who's a fan of the Bucks, when Baker has had multiple new coordinators, some are good, some are bad, and still, once again, having another one, if you are a good player, you're smart, you know how to adjust and adapt and learn, you should be able to find a system. And plus, I believe coaches will not want to change drastically with the players that they have, like Jared Goff and I just dropped his name. St. Brown. Thank you. Wow, I totally forgot his name. And everyone else, you want to play to their strengths if you're a good coach. You're not going to make Jared Goff into a pistol triple threat type quarterback when he's clearly a pocket passer. So you're going to find the strengths with it, and that's what makes good coordinators last long. You're able to adapt with what you have. You're able to make a dish with the ingredients provided. In Detroit, at least for the beginning part of the season, it really felt that, the game against Green Bay and Micah Parsons, Green Bay Packer fan, were just going, I get it, the excitement was there. But it felt like for most of the season, Detroit seemed like they're on the right track. Yeah, they had a little stumbles here and there, but it felt like, they know exactly where they're going. The trajectory is still straight. They're good. They will be fine. You win 9-8. Like I said, winning record, fourth place, missed the playoffs. Some would say, what happened? And I'm going to put this on the case of the NFC North caught up. Somehow, everyone else in the division caught up, and one of them was called Chicago. They caught up. Even though you did beat the Bears twice, but everyone else caught up. And I mean, even looking at your losses, no real losses. Okay, maybe there's like, we'll get to okay. I guess we'll get to that at the very end. Because there's a worse game that was really bad for you, and ha ha ha. Well, let's talk about your best game. Yeah, let's go with best game first. Let's go positives. After your loss at Kansas City, you needed a punching bag. And guess who was coming to town, basically knowing the doom? Week 7 versus Tampa is your best game. I know. Look at me, a Buccaneer fan, ready to criticize my team and how they got their butts whooped. And not to disrespect the future Hall of Famer Mike Evans, this was the game that he came back and then he broke his collarbone. Trust me, that demoralized every Buccaneer fan and player beyond that game. But even with that being said, 24-9 kind of hides a little bit, because if you watch that game, at one point it was 14-9 in the second half. And it just really felt like, what are we doing? Not to mention the multiple turnovers. Jared Goff was one of those quarterbacks during his time in Detroit. He keeps his turnovers in the single digits for the whole season. And there was a lot of turnovers by him that just felt like, that's very on Jared Goff-like. And the Bucs were coming in already injured, so they weren't full of percent. But the big factor was Detroit's secondary was depleted, so it felt like the Lions were going to be picked apart by Baker and Evans. It didn't happen. Matter of fact, it kind of backfired. Baker got destroyed, and probably worse, and Evans sadly was lost for 99% of the season. It sucked, but that's how the league is. And there were even turnovers by the Bucs that kind of helped. There was a catch by Auden that got stripped away by Detroit. Detroit did everything in its power defensively, but the offense, it just never felt like they had full control. But yeah, this game just felt very much like it was meant to be Detroit's way, scratching and clawing. They got the win. They got that monkey off their back. They got confidence. Tampa goes home disappointed. Not typical Tampa fan experience. And Detroit got a big win against a foe that at least we all thought both were going to make the playoffs, and both were probably division champs. This was probably a future playoff matchup. But we were both wrong. So it was your best game. You guys nearly had a. I'm trying to intentionally ignore that your worst game is next on the schedule. And I'm sure some Detroit fans are looking at me going, no, don't bring it up. And I'm like, my dude, I kind of have to. I'm going to have to bring it up. You know what I'm going to talk about. Merry Christmas, Detroit. Your worst game is Week 17 at Minnesota. Merry Christmas. We're going to have a serious discussion here. The Vikings, whom I did a video that were 9-8, probably should not have been. They had nothing to play for. Nothing. The Vikings had nothing to play for. And you guys were coming in, according to DraftKings.com, 7.5 points in the spread. In your favor. The Vikings were being led in this game. In this game. By a quarterback named Max Brosmer. Who is he? That's the point. Who is he? That's the point. So, 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 so. You sacked him 7 times. Welcome to the NFL type of moment. Merry Christmas. You know? Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I know I showed the stats already, but I just want to emphasize one thing. There are 2 things in the stats that stand out, and not in the way you think. One, Detroit, for some reason, didn't have a good passing day, but you ended the game with 163 yards passing. Minnesota had 3 yards passing. 3. I think a paraplegic can do the same number of yards passing the ball for 3 yards. Okay. And then the next stat is 6 turnovers to 0. Detroit, you turned the ball over 6 freaking times. And you know what's so funny? If you would have told me there were 6 turnovers, but then you told me that Minnesota only threw the ball for 3 yards, I would have been like, so Detroit won ugly. But they still won, right? Wrong! They didn't. I don't. I watch football during the holiday, but this holiday season, I'm sure the networks and the streaming service were very upset that the matchups were terrible. But I put on the Vikings and the Lions game in the background while my family was having Christmas dinner together. It was a beautiful thing. And then when I saw the game ended, I was like, okay, let's see how bad the game was. And I saw that the Vikings won. And then I heard this lovely announcement: Detroit is eliminated from playoff contention. I was like, what happened? I mean, the game was on. But it's Detroit versus Max Brosmer. It should be a Detroit win. Ugly or not, it should be a Detroit win. But it was the ultimate, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch moment, as the Lions. This is not a stub your toe. This is you stub the toe and you rip the nail off the toe. It's that type of pain. That even the healing process will still cause pain. That's your worst game. No other game, no other loss matters. That was the worst. And I cannot sit here and say really anything, because honestly, I don't know why was this year so bad? I don't think it was the coaching. Yes, you got new coordinators, but I don't think it was so much of a drastic drop. You got injuries, yeah, but they still got the core players there that were captains, and rightfully so. So I don't know what happened. MVP for Detroit. And this is the part that makes me just go, if this team was so bad, I mean, 9-8 is not bad compared to most teams. This is coming from a Buccaneers fan saying that. But when Jared Goff, who was your MVP, by the way, still threw for 4,500 yards, 34 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. And 2 of those interceptions was against the Vikings. The Vikings that led by Max Prosper. You, Jared Goff, surpassed the title of 25 touchdowns, keep interception single digits thing. You were at 34. Hey, technically, probably should have been 34-6. Maybe even 34-5. We take away the one he threw for the Bucks. Take those away. You were 68% completion. That's very high. Like I said, how did this team play so bad? How? How is this team bad when all the numbers point to a very productive season? I'm slurring my words in shock. Grade for the Lions? You got a C, dude. I can't give you a B. Stats aside, these guys still didn't make the playoffs, and the expectation was so high. So, I'll give you a C for mid, even though you guys don't have the stats to call yourself mid. You are top level, statistically speaking. But when it comes to just wins and losses, you're mid. You get a C. Sorry, dude. And honestly, I don't know why. The draft. What do you guys need to do? We need to address the offensive line. We need to protect the future. So we're going to go strictly with tackles. And in no real particular order, but at the 17th pick, I have you either selecting Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, Alabama. I like him because I feel like Detroit loves having their linemen be more athletic than just big guys with big butts that can block. Monroe Freely, offensive tackle, Georgia. Get him if he's there. At number 17, nice, good spot there. Spencer Fenno, offensive tackle, Utah. Get a lineman, protect your assets. That's all I can really say on that front. That's where I feel like Detroit's going to go. I mean, I can see potential for others with the acquisition that they lost, but I feel like depth-wise they're good. So, at least for the first round, tackle. And that is Detroit. Now we're going to conclude the NFC North by talking to the team that has been historically known as the North. We're going to talk about Green Bay Packers, y'all. We're going to end the NFC North with the Packers. So until next time, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.